Carousel has been absolutely insane. When it comes to the last month of talking about Lane Kiffin, is he going to stay at Ole Miss? Is he coming to LSU? There's been so many different things that you and I have discussed about our own team. But nationwide, this thing has gotten so crazy with Florida and Auburn and Ole Miss and Penn State. They can't find a head coach. And then it got even crazier when coordinators like Blake Baker had to make a choice if he was going to leave LSU to go to Tulane. And right through all of this, you and I have been there for one another this entire time. We have been through the ups, the downs, and the in-betweens. But today's coaching carousel took the biggest turn of all time, and you might not have even known it. The craziest thing in all of the coaching carousels and all of the things that happen, from Lane Kiffin and posting a robot on social media that's cutting the grass for the practice facility at LSU. No, that's not the craziest thing in all of this. The craziest thing in everything that we've seen from the coaching carousel has been Matt Campbell being announced as the next Penn State head coach and him grabbing a hat and bending the bill right into a V. I don't know if Matt Campbell is going to be in the next season of Dexter, but he should be, because only people that fold their bills into a V, I like curved bills. I wear one every night. But to curve it into a V makes me think of the episodes that I have seen of Dexter. I can't do it with Matt Campbell. Now, as a coach, he's an elite head coach. I really do believe that. I think that if Matt Campbell would have even come to LSU, he would have done a fantastic job. But the way that he bends his bill, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I'm not a flat bill guy. I'm not saying you got to wear a flat bill. I wear a cap every night, and the bill is bent. But you can't go full V. You can't go full V. This isn't The Boys and you take the V with your cap. You can't do that. Now, the V, you know, if you've seen the TV series, The Boys, nevertheless, I can't do it. I think psychopaths wear their hat that way. You can't be walking up to a Ruffino crawfish bowl and your hat looked like that. It's just no way. So of all of the drama that we've had, Matt Campbell walked to tell the story what happened today. Matt Campbell walks into an introductory press conference. They're doing all this media. He goes and grabs a Penn State hat and he curves the bill into a V. I can't do it, man. I just can't do it anymore. I think Matt Campbell's actually going to do a pretty freaking good job at Penn State, though. Yes, Brandon, that was me. The question is going to be, in all of the moves that happened this season so far in the coaching carousel, what's going to have the biggest domino effect? You know, we just got done talking about Matt Campbell. Is it going to be Lane Kiffin? Is it going to be your head coach in Lane Kiffin that's the biggest move? Clearly, it's going to be the most watched because it was the most polarizing, because it should have been. And I do think it was the overall best move of any coaches was Lane Kiffin coming to LSU. Because you got Alex Golesh at Auburn, that a lot of people really think that Alex Golesh is a good head coach. You got Silverfield at Arkansas. You got Pete Golding. Let's see if he can live up to what kind of things that he's spewing over the last couple of days about your head coach in Lane Kiffin. I don't do yoga. Okay. Well, the man hired you when you were at rock bottom. So, I mean, that's neither here nor there. But you're going to talk that shit, you better back it up. That's to everybody. But this coaching carousel has been the wildest. And, guys, I'm really intrigued to see what this portal is about to be. And we're going to get into the portal here tonight. Some things that I've heard from around LSU and some of the key areas that they're going to be targeting. Not specific players, but positions that we will talk about. And what I have heard is the plan moving forward into the postseason here. Elijah Robinson. Is he coming to LSU? Is he not coming to LSU? We'll talk about that as well. And Frank Wilson met with the media today for the Texas Bowl and gave some clarity in reference to his future, or lack thereof. So we'll get into that tonight too. So we got a lot to discuss. Lots and lots to discuss, and it's Tuesday. You know what it is. Hashtag Ask Blake. Thoughts, questions, concerns. You can put them inside of the chat, and we will get to them. Specman yet again gave 50 memberships to the YouTube channel. We have some new content, new membership content out there today. Specman over the last 3 days has given 150 of y'all, 150 of you. He's gifted. That's how I should say it. He has gifted 150 people with memberships on the YouTube channel. Guys, there's well over 1,000 of you now. There's I think 1,300 of you that are on the members-only content channel. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much to Specmans. I am sending Specman something very nice. He is going to be getting a very nice Christmas present this year. Might even be something revolving LSU that maybe, we do wear some nice stuff up here that's LSU that, maybe I probably shouldn't have. Regardless of that, Specman, we appreciate you, man. We're going to be sending you something very soon. Rodney with a $5 super chat says, what do you think of Brick Haley's as defensive line coach? I wouldn't mind it. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in the Elijah Robinson thing. If you're asking me about Brick Haley, I wouldn't mind it. I'm going to be interested to see how this all pans out. But Brick Haley, obviously, at Purdue right now, look, we'll see. He's been, he was at LSU from 2009, I think, to 2013, wasn't it, guys? We'll see. 2 or 3, not good as one. 2 and 3 is not good as one. With a $5 super chat says, the name Moscona puts fear in Rufino's heart. Yeah. Here's the thing. You try to troll me while you gave me money. And by the way, just looking at your avatar, you have a soul patch. What kind of a loser has a soul patch? I guess you want those juices on your chin so you can save it for later, but you need to cut that soul patch off your chin. That's what I'm going to say. Stephen Young with a $5 super chat says psychopaths can make great coaches, C.J. Johnson. But here's the thing, though. Jay Johnson don't bend his bill like that. He don't bend his bill like that. So that's what makes Jay Johnson the GOAT. He says, send me one, bud. So this is how the memberships work. Just to we don't have control over it. YouTube gifts the memberships that Specman gives out. A lot of you were in there today. It's actually, ironically, one of my most commented videos. But I have no control over it. So if it gives you one, it gives you one. I hope that all of you are able to get one. And y'all need to be in the chat and thanking Specman. That's what I know. All right. Let's get moving here. Everyone do us a favor by hitting a like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook. It's all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Every AYS show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Use the FT Sportsbook app today if you're on Apple or Android iPhone. The number one sportsbook inside the state of Louisiana is our good partners and friends over at FanDuel. For any thoughts, questions, concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. You can set your preferences there as well. If you want to go place bets on who you think's going to win the Heisman, who do you think's going to win the college football playoff, you can place those bets on with our good friends over at FanDuel. Again, for thoughts, questions, concerns, go to FanDuel.com for more details. So let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we got lots to discuss. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check him out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick.
We're back.
All right. Ricky with a massive, absolutely massive super chat here. Ricky, I still don't have your DM. DM me again. I'm sending you something too. With a $200 super chat. My man. Greatly appreciative of you sending that in. He says, if you say you love LSU, then you will do what needs to be done to stay. If you don't, then you're a hypocrite and selfish. To those who speak about hypocrisy, how is Frank Wilson not hypocritical? Those who speak on these shows about hypocrisy should take their own advice. You know, look, there's been a lot made about Frank. First off, thank you, Ricky, for the super chat. Please send me your address. I greatly appreciate it. I'm sending you something too. Look, I just don't think that it's gone over well with the old staff and the new. I think if anybody was telling you the truth of the matter is with Lane and the old staff, there haven't been many conversations from what I've been told with, people that are in that building. They're just not talking enough. And I think it's caused some tension. And it kind of leads into, Ricky, and I'm just going to go right into it, to what you were talking about here. Frank Wilson was meeting with the media today and was asked a lot of questions and things that you and I are going to get to in just a moment. There's still a game that we got to talk about. We got to talk about Elijah Robinson. We got a lot of things we got to discuss. But he was on there today and he was strictly asked, hey, have you been told or do you have any idea about your future with LSU? And Frank said, no, I have no clarity on the situation of what I'm going to be. This is strictly opinion. Can be wrong. Have no idea. This isn't like, hey, I'm talking to somebody. This is what's about to happen. Because I have no idea what's going to happen with Frank Wilson moving forward. I don't know if he's going to remain at LSU, that he will or he won't. However, to me, it looks like a couple of things have happened here. It seems that there were some things that went on behind the scenes that were put out there on purpose, and they were what they were. But Lane does – I feel like if Lane wanted Frank Wilson to be on staff, this would be over. Personally, you have a guy in Frank Wilson today going to the podium, and unless you're just playing some games here, which maybe Lane could be doing, I don't think that he would do that. But unless you're playing some games here, it seems like Frank's not going to be retained. Now, I talked about this in the members-only YouTube channel today, and just going to focus back in on it here publicly tonight. I think offensively, on multiple position groups offensively, guys, you flat out failed. You failed at wide receiver. You failed. You were second in the SEC in drops. You couldn't get separation when you needed to. And I know your play caller was a massive problem in it because you went in the portal and got Barryon Brown, and he was one of the wide receivers in the SEC that had the most drops. That's a miss. That's on Austin. That's on Cortez. That's on everybody. And I do feel like, for what it's worth too, that some of these guys played and got playing time offensively because you paid them. Like, that's how I feel. I don't think Brad Davis developed well. And I think we all realize that. You had a problem at tackle, especially at right tackle. You had a problem at guard. You had some problems at center. And I think Tyree Adams was fine when he was in there and healthy because DJ Chester hasn't developed. Weston Davis isn't ready yet. I mean, like, there are a lot of situations where you look along the offensive line and it failed as well. You got a young offensive line and that stinks, but I mean, you didn't rebuild there. Back-to-back years, LSU is in the hundreds when it comes to running the football. When has that ever been LSU's MO? Ever. So everybody failed there. It is what it is. It's not personal, but you failed there. At running back, from what it seems like, it seems as if Lane does not want to keep him. And I see, and a lot of you send me this, that there's a lot of people in our media corps that is pushing for Frank to stay. I heard today and was sent a clip from something that happened. Somebody sent it in the Twitter DMs, and I saw the clip that was put out there that, there are some media personalities that said Frank was the best assistant coach in Louisiana's history. Because he's never been here when you've won a title. Like, when I think of assistants, maybe you could, I think of coordinators too, but you don't want to do that. But guys, I look at Mickey Joseph and say he won a national title. He recruited the best 2 wide receivers in the country, and they literally displayed that. I mean, I think of Corey Raymond. Like, guys, if we're ranking dudes, like, Corey's going to be up there just as much. I just think that Frank wanted the head coaching job and it wasn't given to him. And I think that there is some conflict that's happened behind closed doors, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. I'm sure this former staff is aggravated about the current situation that they're in. How could they not be? And I think Frank has not been given clarity because he said he hasn't been clarity. Maybe they get clarity and they figure it all out. Because he's going to the podium when he's asked, hey, do you know if you're going to be retained or not? And he goes, yeah, I have no idea. I have zero clue. And I'm sure that's going to create tension. And I'm sure that I'm not sure. I mean, guys, it has created tension from a lot of the old staff to the new. You kept your entire defensive staff. So the guy who constantly, guys, let me just say it like this. You were hiring Lane Kiffin for one big reason and one big reason only. Like, you don't hire Sean Payton and tell Sean Payton what to do on offense. You don't hire Sean McVay. You don't hire Joe Brady. You don't hire any coordinator or offensive-minded head coach to tell them and dictate to them what they should do. You hired Lane Kiffin because, number one, he's proven to be a really freaking good head coach. And number two, you hire Lane Kiffin because he's the best play caller in the country. He has done it everywhere he's been, whether it be USC the first time or the second time, whether it be at Tennessee, whether it be at Alabama, whether it is at Florida Atlantic, whether it's at Ole Miss, or whether it's going to be here. His track record is his track record, and it's followed him as an offensive savant and an offensive wizard. Who are we to tell him who he should and shouldn't retain? Everybody's calling it from a Louisiana angle. This is what I keep hearing. Well, Blake, he's got connections in Louisiana. You're right. Name a corner that Corey has been massively on. Well, Blake, Aiden Anding. Guys, Aiden Anding was recruited not only by Corey, but other staff. Your starting DB room, your starting corner room has nobody from Louisiana in it. It was Mansour Delane. He's not from here. DJ Pickett, he's not from here. PJ Woodland, he's not from here. And the guy that started all 13 games for you last year from Louisiana, Ashton Stamps, is in the portal because he got beat out. Like, that is the bottom line of it. So whether you're from Louisiana or not, I mean, you can't. There are really good coaches with a lot of really good connections that can get the job done. Guys, this game is about development, and we're questioning a guy who's had a top 5 offense the last 6 years in the SEC. Do you think that Georgia tells Kirby Smart what he should and shouldn't do? Like, he's won the SEC. Sure, but I'm talking about on the defensive side of the ball. Do you think they tell Kirby what to do? If he doesn't want Frank, guys, he doesn't want Frank. And I think a lot of you have got to get over that. Now, what I'm saying there is going to be, oh, well, Blake's just sticking up for Lane Kiffin. Gus, you can believe that. You can believe that. That can be your thought process. But Frank Wilson went out to a podium today and said, listen, I have no idea if I'm getting retained or not. I have no clue. I have no clarity on the situation. Okay, well, you have no clarity on the situation. But I'm just not going to tell a guy who has, guys, we've seen what he does offensively. If he wants Kevin Smith, if he wants another running backs coach, by all means, do what you think need to be necessary. Because the last 2 times that you've had a 1,000-yard back, a Louisiana coach wasn't here. A Louisiana guy wasn't here. When Nick Brissett and Clyde Edwards-Helaire went over 1,000 yards, a Louisiana running backs coach wasn't here. He wasn't. There are really good coaches from outside of the state and inside the state. And I think the entire offensive staff from the top to the bottom failed. It failed. Whether we want to admit that or not, it all failed. Whether you want to blame the offensive line that had 4 guys drafted from last year's team, you want to blame this year's offensive line, yeah, they weren't good. You want to blame the wide receivers. You want to blame the quarterback. You want to blame Frank Wilson and how he did things. Guys, he was over-recruiting. He was over-recruiting. And Austin missed offensively back-to-back years along the offensive line. Everybody failed in that entire scenario. I'm just not going to tell a head coach, number one, what he should do, and number two, the guy who's been an offensive wizard everywhere he's gone, I'm just not going to tell him what he needs to do when he just won 11 regular season games in the SEC. I'm not going to do it. When he goes into Oklahoma and dog walks them, I'm not going to do it. When he scores 35 straight points in Athens, I'm not going to do it. You're going to have to start justifying, well, Blake, this place is different. Guys, Ole Miss is different. It's worse than you. If you can't get better offensive, if he can get better offensive linemen and running backs at Ole Miss, what in the Rudy Poo, then he's just going to miss here at LSU. I mean, what are we discussing here? If he's getting him at Ole Miss, he's going to get him here. So, Frank, guys, I just feel like, for me, again, opinion, if he was going to be retained, he would be retained. You think Frank Wilson, you think Lane Kiffin doesn't want to get the PR win? I don't know what he's going to do, though. I have no clue. I'm not going to come out here and act like I do know. But I see a whole offensive staff that failed from top to bottom. Brian Kelly included. Guys, the entire defensive staff got retained. You were top 25 in the country on defense. All right. So you're top 25 in the country defensively. That's where you sit. All right. So a top 25 defense with the entire staff that got retained. With a guy that just had a top 3 offense, top 5 offense in the country. And we're going to sit here and tell him what he should and shouldn't do. Guys, I mean, recruiting is recruiting is recruiting. You had 2 players that were completely tied to Frank Wilson that signed here. When it came down to it, what did it all come down to? It didn't come down to Frank Wilson staying. It came down to, well, you know what it came down to. When we ripped the Band-Aid off, what is today's college football about when it comes to recruiting? What is it about, guys? Players have been coming to LSU long, far and enough before Frank was here, when he wasn't here, and when he was here. LSU is much bigger than one person, Lane Kiffin included, Verge Aldsberry included, myself included. Nobody's bigger than that brand. No one. No one person. I'm not, if that is his decision, and I am, I guess, defending the decision. If that is his decision, until he proves me otherwise, I mean, you should have gone in the portal and gotten a back. I mean, to all of you that are here and that have been here for a long time, a lot of you that were here this past offseason, you knew my feelings. I yelled from the bleachers to go get a portal running back. Go get a running back that can break tackles, because this offensive line is going to be bad, and you're going to need somebody physical that can break tackles at the line of scrimmage to get yardage, and you didn't do it. Well, Blake, you didn't know what Trey Holly and JT Lindsey. You were relying on 2 freshman running backs to come in here and make a massive impact. That's not smart. That's just not smart. You shouldn't have done that. You should have gone for a portal back. And if that affected Harlem Berry, it affected Harlem Berry. But, guys, you've been 100 plus in rushing the last 2 years, and the entire staff offensively, along with a $54 million head coach, got fired while your entire defensive staff got retained. Who's to blame? You know, Brian Kelly had this before, by the way. He had this exact scenario before and survived it, which he was going to because of that massive contract. One side of the ball being really good and the other side of the ball being really bad. All of you wanted that defensive staff fired the last time, and it did. It was because they deserved to be fired. And then 2 years, Blake Baker comes in here and completely turns it around with 3 guys that are not from here. I don't know if Frank Wilson's going to be retained. But what I do know is that, well, I'm just going to trust in Lane Kiffin offensively, man. You don't have to be there with me, but that's where I am. All right, Frank Wilson also gave a couple of other updates. He said that Garrett Nussmeier, Mansour Delane, and Aaron Anderson aren't playing along with Weeks. Garrett and Anderson and Weeks are out with the Texas Bowl for injury. Don't play him. You know, I said this earlier in the day, but I really do believe that the 2 biggest benefactors in Lane Kiffin becoming your next head coach is Trey Green and Aaron Anderson. I think when I look at Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. and Joe Cox and George McDonald and Sawyer Jordan being a part of this offensive staff moving forward, when I look at them, I just think Aaron Anderson has so much more that he has to prove, number one, and that he can prove. I think Aaron Anderson can take a massive leap in an offense that's going to be featured with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. calling plays. I think Trey Green is the other. Don't play. You have no business in playing. Neither does Whit Weeks. And we'll see the status of Whit Weeks and what he decides to do. Does he go in the draft? Does he come back? We'll find all of that out. But to Mansour Delane, you have nothing to prove. Jack Pyburn, likely per Frank Wilson, might opt out. We'll find out. They have nothing to prove to you. And look, I think bowl games now in today's college football, a lot of people say they're meaningless. Yeah, I mean, the game is, but I'm just there to see. It's kind of like a preseason, like a look forward to what you're going to have. Right? Like it's a preface to what the last time we'll see this team until spring. Well, and you guys won't see them during spring. That is the overall consensus. Guys, the biggest thing in all this, too, is that this LSU team's going to get 14 practices. To the teams like Notre Dame and Auburn, and I think Auburn's a little bit different because of all the coaching staff turnover, because you have a situation where the biggest benefactor in all of this right now is Lane Kiffin gets to be in 14 practices. He gets the old staff to coach this team. He gets his defensive staff that's all being retained to be a part of this staff. And you get a really good idea of where you're going. So, yeah, I do believe that this is a big deal for you. Mansour Delane, who's now announced today as a first-team SEC guy, along with A.J. Halsey. I don't think A.J. Halsey should play. Guys, we're in the era of opting out. And the bowl games are bowl games. No one really cares about them anymore. I mean, teams aren't even accepting invitations anymore. So I don't think any of those players have anything to prove to you. And I think if you're injured, you shouldn't play. And I do think Garrett Nussmeier told Frank Wilson month ago, that when he got taken out and he got, quote unquote, hurt again, that he's moving on. Because it's been a month since Garrett Nussmeier's played. And then when he got benched at Alabama, he didn't play another snap. I'm going to leave that there. But because, of course, none of them deserve to play in multiple different reasons. Whether you're going to get a lot of money from the NFL draft, or you're hurt, or you just basically gave up. So it is what it is there. So Frank didn't have a lot to say. He did say there was 10 midterm enrollees. So we'll continue to monitor that. Before we get to a break, I want to bring this up. So Lane Kiffin's new staff is going back to Ole Miss. I find it comical. I find it highly comical that over the last couple of days we've seen media from Ole Miss. We've seen fans from Ole Miss. Now that Charlie Weis went back to coach and to call plays for Ole Miss in the playoff run. Joe Cox is going back. George McDonald, Sawyer Jordan is going back to coach the offense for Ole Miss's playoff run. And what's been really funny to watch over the last couple of days has been some of their media, some of their fans saying, this isn't over with Charlie Weis Jr. We're going to get him back. And I'm just thinking to myself, did any one of you read Wilson Alexander's report from The Advocate where all of these coaches signed? And if they want to go back to Ole Miss, well, Ole Miss owes LSU 3 times the salary in a buyout to get these guys to leave. Yes, go right on ahead. You want to give us, let's see, triple the salary of $6 million for an offensive coordinator. Huh. Do you want to do that? Do you want to give us $6 million plus for assistant coaches? Do you really want to do that? And today, Ole Miss announced that they're getting a new offensive coordinator. It's been really funny, but I thought the troll job by Lane Kiffin was really funny as well. As he posted something on social media, it was like a dove with an olive branch, like that he's giving Pete Golden and Ole Miss an olive branch, which I guess he kind of is in a way, giving them an olive branch. Because your entire offensive staff is in their meeting room right now. Think about that. Think about that for just a moment. The entire LSU offensive staff is in the Ole Miss building right now. And what we've been saying in all of this process about Ole Miss was that Keith Carter has got to make decisions. Like every Ole Miss fan and media member is praising Keith Carter and what he did. Oh, Lane knew for 2 weeks that he wasn't going to coach the playoffs. And that these coaches that leave with him, they're not going to coach the playoffs. So you mean to tell me that you're not going to allow Lane Kiffin to coach the playoffs for you, even though he led you to what you have called the biggest football game in Mississippi history? You have called it that, not us, not the national media. You have said it's the biggest game football-wise in the state of Mississippi. So you'll let all of the guys that betrayed you, which is what you called it, you'll flip off Charlie Weis when he gets on a plane, and you'll say, oh, screw him. Oh, it's not over yet. We're going to get Charlie Weis back. And then you don't get any of them. But Keith Carter's been out there saying that he's going around on some media tour. Yeah, everything Lane said's not true. Newsflash, Peter Pan. The things that you have been saying aren't true. Oh, if those coaches get on the plane, we're not going to let Lane and these guys come back and coach. And yet here they are. Here they are. They're back. And they're coaching for you, and you didn't want Lane to do it. Now, thank you, because our head coach is here, and he's getting ready to whip up on your candy ass next year. Ole Miss has never been in this situation before, and they don't know how to act. You can't be the tough guy at the bar, and then when the other tough guy walks up to you, you sit down on the stool. You can't be a bitch about the situation. And I'm not calling Keith Carter one. I'm just saying you can't back down from the situation. You've given all these ultimatums. You've been the big guy. You've been the tough guy. You're not the tough guy anymore, and our entire offensive staff is sitting in a meeting room right now with all of your players. And the portal's coming up. Yeah, you've been a little bit petty. Going on a media tour saying, yeah, everything Lane said, that's not true. Huh. It's funny because I know something that you know and that you know that I know. Why did it take you so long to get after John Summerall if you had 2 weeks, 3 weeks to know that Lane Kiffin was leaving and going to LSU? So did you miss on John Summerall? Or did you really think Lane was coming back and you're holding out all kinds of hope? Maybe the girl at the bar, the 10 at the bar is going to go home with me. Maybe she's going to go home with me. Guys, Keith Carter's completely wrecked this entire situation. Good. I hope Kewan Lacey hits the portal. I hope he hits the portal. I hope Winnie hits the portal. I hope a lot of these guys hit the portal. He brought him there. He brought him there. So we'll see. All right. Let me get to a quick break. Is Elijah Robinson going to be the next defensive line coach at LSU? We discuss it next. Stay with us. Hey, Southwest Louisiana. Are you ready to gear up for your next outdoor adventure or tackle that next big job on the farm? Then head on over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. At Henderson and Lake Charles, they've got everything you need under one massive 30,000 square foot indoor showroom. Kubota tractors and mowers to power through the toughest tasks. Polaris off-road bikes and side-by-sides to conquer any trail. And tracker boats with brands like Ranger, Nitro, Sun Tracker, and Regency pontoons for a day out on the water. Whether you're a farmer or a hunter or just someone who loves the great outdoors, Henderson has what you need to get the job done and have fun while doing it. Browse their new and used inventory over at their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. Or give them a call today at 337-436-4366. That's 337-436-4366. Or go see them over in Lake Charles on the corner of East McNee Street and Highway 14. Remember, if you need a tractor, go to Henderson. Need a boat? Go to Henderson. Or if you need an ATV or side-by-side, you know where to go. Henderson. Just let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotions. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. We're back. So, over the weekend, it was reported that Elijah Robinson, the former Texas A&M defensive line coach, along with the Syracuse defensive coordinator, was more than likely going to be the defensive line coach for LSU. That Lane Kiffin had targeted Elijah Robinson to be his next interior defensive line coach, and that it was trending in that direction. Now, over the last couple of days, Matt Zenitz over CBS has reported that now Nebraska, who's fired their defensive line coach, is looking to hire Elijah Robinson as well, and Penn State has also got into the mix. And Nebraska is trying to make a very big move here. They're trying to make a very big move on E-Rob, who has been with Matt Rule in multiple stints, to make him their next defensive line coach. Look, there comes a couple of things here that is going on, and one, opinion, and two, what's actually going on here. Let's start off with the opinion. My opinion is that I think Elijah Robinson wants stability from people that he knows. Look, man, you're getting demoted as a defensive coordinator when teams around the country were scoring 70 points on you. And sometimes confidence is a big deal when it comes to coaches. When I talk to coaches around, LSU or the SEC, one of my best friends is a coach in the SEC. And when they do bad or he does bad or his position group does bad, he feels really bad about his current situation and his confidence goes down behind the scenes. And I wonder if that plays a factor into E-Rob. Now, I don't know at the current moment what his status is going to be. It seems like a couple of teams are fighting over this. And I wonder what his decision is going to be because I do not know at this current moment. I know LSU, though, for what it's worth, is fighting for him to be your next defensive line coach. But it does seem like that E-Rob has, for whatever it's worth, started listening to other programs and what they can offer. Doesn't mean you're not getting that. Doesn't mean you're getting them. Doesn't mean that you're not getting them. What it does mean, however, is that you're in a fight for him. Don't get dumb. Meaning, from an opinion-based situation, I think that there's some holding out here in reference to maybe LSU sweetening the deal here. And I think they need to stay firm. Now, I think E-Rob's an electric defensive line coach. I think he would kill it here. I don't know how he looks at the situation and what you just did along the defensive line, especially in the interior with Deuce Geralds, Richard Anderson, Lamar Brown, and not say to himself, you give me 2 to 3 years with these guys and we're going to really wreck shop. But I do think confidence might play a little bit of a factor here, if you're just asking me my opinion. In reference to some things that I've heard, what I've heard about Elijah Robinson's been simple from what LSU's trying to do. Guys, they're trying to close him. I heard somebody in the media today saying, yeah, that we might look elsewhere. And then I made a couple of phone calls. I'm like, I was told the complete opposite was happening. I think Elijah Robinson's a great defensive line coach. I think pairing him with Kevin Peoples would be a master class of coaching along the defensive line and the intensity of what those two guys will bring at that position. Kevin Peoples is an intense human being. Elijah Robinson is an intense human being. And he did a really good job at A&M. He did a fantastic job at A&M. With the defensive lineman that he recruited, when they give him some money to go out there and recruit, and he had the even playing field with Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, well, he won. He flat out won. In all different phases, he won in recruiting and in developing. And he had a lot of really good defensive linemen, and when he left, it all fell apart. You are fighting to get him. You are fighting to really and truthfully keep him at the current moment. I do think stability from people that he knows is a big deal. I don't know what he's going to do or what he's thinking, which leads me to, if it's not him, where do you go? And I know a couple of you have thrown names in there. I don't know yet. But a big name that's got thrown around today is Ed Orgeron. And I just don't know if Blake Baker, who stayed on staff, would like that, to be blunt with you. But I also think that, again, if you're going to go for Ed, why didn't you do it when you got here? I think clearly other options were explored before going to Ed, and you very well might have to go there. I don't think Ed Orgeron should be your defensive line coach, and I love Coach O. I love him to death. But I think that O's going to have to rebuild some trust from people on that defensive staff. He's going to have to rebuild some trust in reference to LSU in general, not the fans, but the people inside that building, because that thing got toxic. Like, a lot of people almost got fired, and a lot of people did get fired when the whole Ed O thing went down. A lot of people's friends got fired when the whole Ed O thing went down. Blake Baker got fired when the whole Ed O thing went down. And I'm sure that wasn't easy for him. You're fighting to keep Elijah Robinson. He might be the biggest defensive line coach paid in the country when this is all said and done, whether it's Penn State, Nebraska, or LSU. I think he's listening to everybody out because he is a hot commodity right now, and those are 3 teams that are massively going after him. I do think that he is going to be the highest paid defensive line coach in the country, regardless of where he goes. And when other teams and other coaches are looking for your services, LSU included, there are just going to be people that come out there and say, well, hey, man, I mean, we're going to make you the highest paid defensive line coach, and we're going to let you rebuild this thing through your own way. I just don't know how you look at Richard Anderson, Lamar Brown, and Deuce Geralds and say to yourself that you can't build something special and rebuild what you've already built at A&M. He's a young coach. He's going to do really good. He's going to have a great career. But Nebraska has gotten into this fold here. Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports, I'll just read you the report here from what he said so that we're all on the same page. When I read Matt Zenitz's report of the entire situation, it's clear to me. Zenitz says, an Elijah Robinson update, an LSU defensive line job per sources. It's very important in question at this point that Robinson, who is of interest to more than just LSU, ends up joining the Tigers staff per sources. There's some doubt at this stage that ends up happening. The way that I read that is that he's trending in other directions. Where do you go? I don't think the first option coming out of Elijah Robinson is going to be, quite frankly, I just don't think it's going to be at Orgeron. If you get down the wave here, if you get down, a couple of defensive linemen or defensive line coaches, I think he could obviously be an option. Right now, I just don't believe that he's an option at this current moment. I think they're going to look around. I think that they're going to search around for some other defensive line guys. I think that Blake Baker is going to have a big hand in this. The one thing that I was told today was that Blake Baker will have a big factor in, how do I want to say this? Lane is going to listen to what Blake wants. And I think that he's going to get some of the options that he wants. Where does he turn? I don't think that if Blake Baker's, this is how this is going to play out. If Blake Baker's words and where he wants to go and what he wants to do mean anything, I do think if Lane will give him that autonomy, and if he does, I don't think it's Coach O. I do think Lane in all of this, it loves his good friend and Ed Orgeron and would do it. I just think that there's been some pushback. Guys, I told you when this Edo story came out that his agent, who we all know, put that out there to try to get Arkansas and others to try to bite on Orgeron, get Tulane to bite on Orgeron. That's the truth. And it didn't take. It's not that it wasn't true. And I'm sure behind the scenes, Lane did ask about Ed. I mean, I'm pretty certain that he did. Bottom line for me, it looks like Elijah Robinson is trending elsewhere, and I don't know where you're going to turn right now. I think that they're going to try to fight for him and see what happens, and I do think that they've already been making some contingency plans. Don't know where this is going to end. I do not know how this is going to end. But right now, it seems like Elijah Robinson's not going to be your defensive line coach. Tomorrow, when I make some phone calls and we talk about tomorrow morning, service announcement. We'll be live at 11 a.m. tomorrow, 11:05 Central Time tomorrow, a.m., not p.m. Got some family stuff I need to do. So we will talk about some replacements that we could look at down the road. I do think Lane and Blake are going to have a lot of conversations, and by tomorrow, this will start becoming really clear. Let me repeat what I just said. Tomorrow, things are going to start becoming very clear on where LSU's actions are going to be. If it doesn't go a little bit later into the night, 8:30, 9 p.m., on where exactly that they want to go. I do believe that Ed's name will continue to get circled if you go down the list and you're unable to land. I don't think everybody in that room agrees with going and getting him, though. All right. Let me do this. One last thing before we get to some super chats and some thoughts and some questions. Speaking of phone calls that were made today. So, Gus, LSU is starting to gear up for the portal. Big boards are being made for potential players that they believe are going to be going in the portal. Guys, we got to understand the truth of the matter, that these coaches are constantly talking to agents and telling agents, hey, my player probably wants to go in the portal. What would you offer him? And do you have room? Those conversations with coaches and agents are already having. The one thing that now that we look back on it, that I think that we should have focused in on more when it happened was what happened to you last offseason. Well, Blake, what happened? We saw a Netflix documentary with a lot of SEC coaches. And in that documentary, Brian Kelly was on his way to football ops, was driving to football ops. And he's on the phone with his agent and Tate Armstrong, who also represents Garrett Nussmeier. That's a conflict of interest in and of itself. And you have a conversation that is happening with Garrett Nussmeier, or for Garrett Nussmeier, with Tate and Brian Kelly on what he's going to get paid. They're negotiating in December. Guys, right now, what's going on around LSU is big boards are being made, pretty much already been made, about where they want to go. So some conversations that I had today went a little something like this. I think along the offensive line, when it comes to LSU in the portal, LSU's probably going to take a couple of weeks to examine what exactly they have. Eric Wolford is going to look at guys like Tyree Adams for year one, Carius Kern, Solomon Thomas, Braylon Moore, Weston Davis, and see what he has in store right now to go and see where he needs to go when it comes to this interior and exterior offensive line. I think that is a massive talking point that I have heard the most over the last couple of days is what LSU is going to do along the offensive line. There's not a lot of bona fide offensive linemen that actually goes into the portal. And when the ones that do, they're normally from the FCS level. And they're a dime a dozen. You know, Oregon's landed on two guys at tackle, one that's already been a high-round draft pick and another one that's going to be a high-round draft pick, and both of them came from the SEC, FCS ranks, big tackles. And I do think you need a right tackle. And I do think that there's a thought cement right now that you need a couple of guards, if not a center. From what I've been told, the evaluation process of all of those guys are starting because, guys, you got to realize the Blake Baker situation, the getting offensive staff situation, the locking down high school recruits, there hasn't been a lot of time for Lane to really look in on the team that he currently has. And I think that now the time is when everything's starting to settle down a little bit. It's about, all right, where are we as a roster? Where are we right now as a team? What do we have to rebuild? Well, the biggest building thing that we got to do right now is replace and do some things along of this offensive line. I do think they're going to go for offensive linemen in the portal. How many, I don't know. And I do think they're looking more in the interior, center, guard, and at right tackle. I think that you honestly, if you're just asking me an opinion, I think that Tyree Adams and Carius Kern at left tackle and left guard would be a really good combo. I think Tyree's got some developing to do, but I think he was a decent tackle. He was a decent left tackle when healthy. Didn't give up a lot of sacks this year. Carius Kern's going to be a dude. Can Solomon Thomas be a dude? So you have two guys that were brought in that were 5-star or borderline 5-star offensive linemen, and you just ask yourself the question, all right, well, can these guys play? And if they can play, maybe we do have our guards in-house. Do we need to go for a center? We definitely need some tackle help, and that is for sure. I think that there's a thought process that Carius Kern could be that starting left guard. You probably need to go for a right guard at some point if Solomon Thomas isn't that guy. But in the interior and the right side of that offensive line, I think you're fine or could be fine along the left part of it. I think the right side of that offensive line is going to be the debate over and over again. We'll see where they go there. Brandon, let's hit it. Guys, stand by. We're cleaning up the image there. All right, let's move on. The second thing that I've been told today that has been a big focus for LSU had been this interior of the defensive line. Guys, Jacoby and Guillory's not going to be there anymore. And I do wonder what is going to happen with Don McKinley. Does he stay? Does he hit the portal? I don't know. Ahmad Bro's no longer going to be there. Zion Williams gave you a lot of really good reps down the stretch. Does he stay? Does he go? I don't know. I think that there's been a big focus on the interior of the defensive line. Jacoby and Guillory not being in there anymore. Bernard Gooden not going to be there anymore. And I know Blake Baker yesterday went out on with Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn and said, oh, we'll evaluate that. I've been told that the opposite's happening. I have been told that they are definitely looking the interior defensive line and knowing that they need to go get some dudes. Now, I think you've got really good depth pieces that will be there as freshmen. Richard Anderson, Deuce Geralds, Lamar Brown. Those are really good depth pieces. Maybe one of those guys can start immediately for you. That definitely is something that can happen. But they're definitely going to look at some experienced depth and some, if there's a playmaker that goes in there, that they're going to go and get. You need some help inside that interior because you're losing a lot of experience. And quite frankly, guys, Don McKinley, through 2 years, hasn't really played up to the billing of being that bona fide five-star. I think he plays too high. I think he needs to get his pad level lower, and he needs to get more tenacious. I think he definitely needs to get more tenacious and more physical. A big talking point that I have heard around LSU with the new staff, especially now that your entire defense and your entire staff is being retained, what are you going to do along the interior of that defensive line? Guys, I think you've seen interior defensive lineman that hits the portal. LSU is going to be on a lot of those names. So as this market starts to oversaturate itself and these potentially some of these top guys get in there, you're going to be in the mix for a lot of them. It is the biggest thing for LSU on the interior offensive line. Edge is another position. I mean, you could put that along defensive line. You know, do you trust in Damian Shanklin? Do you trust in Dylan Carpenter? Are those the guys that you're going to run out there to be your starting edge unit? Maybe it is. Kalaj Cobbins, is that going to be a guy that is going to be at edge? I don't know if edge is specifically where they want to go, but if somebody gets in the portal, I think that they'll go after him. We'll see what happens at edge. I do think that they want to get a premier pass rusher, a guy that can really get after the passer. Blake did a really good job at Missouri landing on some guys that can get after the passer. The next phase for Blake Baker's offense is having a defensive line that can get home with 4. You have a really good secondary. You have a really good corner room. You don't need to go in the portal for corner. Maybe for some depth, but you don't need to go in the room for at corner. Maybe you need to go get a safety. Because edge and along your defensive line is going to be where you need to go and win, and I think you spend a lot of money at. Look, linebacker's another position. What is Whit Weeks' status? I think Lane Kiffin has a pretty good idea of what Whit Weeks is going to do. For a lot of reasons. I think that you need a linebacker. You need a guy with speed. You need some guy with some speed. Tackett Curtis hit the portal today. I'm really intrigued to see what happens there. That is just an opinion. I don't know if this kid's ever going to come to LSU. He's got 1 year of eligibility remaining. He might go somewhere else. That one's going to get interesting. That one's going to get really interesting. Tackett had a really good year. Had close to 100 tackles this season. I do think you need a backer that can fly. I don't think that Donovan Keys and Whit Weeks, if he returns, you need another dude. You need another dude. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Last but not least, look, we've talked about quarterback a lot. Guys, you're going after probably 2 to 3 quarterbacks, just being blunt with you. If Michael Van Buren doesn't stay and Colin Hurley hits the portal, I mean, you guys, you don't have scholarship quarterbacks. So that's neither here nor there. Receiver. I think that there's been a lot of debate about receiver and where you currently stand. I think you're going after some. It's going to be interesting to see the guys that enter the portal from Ole Miss. Really interesting. They've done a really good job as George McDonald and Lane Kiffin at landing on portal wide receivers. They have landed. I think that there's a lot of really young talent in that room. I think Manchild's going to be really good. I think Phillip Wright's going to be really good. You're going after receivers, and you're going to go after a lot of them because pretty much every position you're going to go after. I think you're shooting, and you're going to shoot for a top 5 class in the portal yet again. You got a lot that you got to replace. A lot that you have to replace. You're about to have to put your money where your mouth is. You came out there and said that LSU offered the best NIL package. Well, you're going to have to go win some of these big battles. You're going to have to go win them. And I think that you're going to do it, and you're already setting that up. LSU's about to spend some money, man. They're about to spend some money. I think they'll have a top 3 portal class yet again. You got to land just on both sides of the ball, unlike what you did last year. All right. Let's get to some super chats. Thank you again, Ricky Pope, for sending a massive super chat there. Absolutely amazing. John with a $2 super chat says, Speckman is the GOAT last 2 days. He's Santa Claus. He's the AYS Santa Claus. He's giving more gifts than anybody. Speckman61 with a $5 super chat says, how could you not want to coach a D-line after that signing class coming in? It's a great question. It is a great, great, great question. I don't know. You're going to start getting a lot of clarity tomorrow, I promise you. You're going to start getting some clarity. It's going to be some names that are going to get thrown out tomorrow. I promise you, it's coming. I think they're giving him today. Figure it out. You want to go to Nebraska, by all means. Guys, I didn't say this during the Elijah Robinson situation here. I think Matt Rule sucks. There, I said it. I think he sucks. I think he's a horrible coach. I don't like Matt Rule at all. I think everything he does is fake. It's just what I believe. I think it's a dumb decision if he goes to Nebraska. I really do. I really, really do. PV House with a $5 super chat says, thanks for the coverage over the last month and a half. Feels like LSU won a championship already. Lane train, here we go. God bless. It's been a wild month and a half. You know, Sunday, my wife and I hosted a Christmas party. I put my phone down and didn't do shit. Guys, I'm exhausted. But yeah, I mean, look, it's been a great month. And listen, I have a feeling inside my bones that this is going to be some fun shit. Like, even during the offseason, I think that we need I still think that this is going to be a very fun offseason to watch. I hope a lot of you are there for it. I do. Damon with a $5 super chat says, what do you think about us looking at CJ Baxter at running back out of Texas? Big fan of the show as well, my man. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the super chat. Is he healthy? Yeah, is he healthy? He's had a couple of injuries the last couple of years. He's really good back when he's healthy, though. I think I think you need a physical back. Like, I do. I don't know how quickly you can. I don't know how quickly you're going to be able to fix this offensive line. Can you fix it in an offseason? Fix the defensive line in an offseason? I mean, can you fix it in an offseason? I don't know. But if you don't, you need a guy that can go downhill and just put his head down and run somebody flat over. I love Harlan Berry. He's going to be an amazing player. He ain't going to do that. He's not a back that you can give the ball 15 times to, 18 times to, and say, just go get us 3 yards a pop. Like, you need backs like that. You need physicality like that. And that's what I think Lane's going to try to bring him. Look at Kawan Lacey. I think at running back, you're going to wait and see what Kawan Lacey does. And if he goes to the portal, guys, I think you got a new running back. And I'd take him in a heartbeat. So, is he healthy? You know, would be my biggest thing. Stephen Young with a $5 super chat says, can't let an assistant coach hold the program hostage, especially one whose running back room has consistently underperformed, maybe. I don't know if he's holding hostage. You know, I mean, like, I just hear, I hear Art Media Corps saying He's the best assistant coach of all time at LSU. No, he's not. The corners coach that just got retained is the best. I mean, like, no, he's not. Look, I don't have a feeling of, I don't care either way, to be blunt with you. Like, that's where I am. I don't care either way. If he stays, great. Frank's a great recruiter. I don't like what he does in rotations at running back. I don't. I legitimately don't. And I think that, like, Caden hasn't taken the next step. Caleb Jackson didn't take a next step. And, like, you got to answer for that, man. Well, offensive lineman, man. Guess 4 guys got drafted along that offensive line. You sucked at running the football. We're just going to have somebody do this. Somebody come in here and justify me outside of recruiting what the last 2 years have been running the football. You can blame the offensive line all that you want to, but there hasn't been a lot of running back production either. Hadn't been. Doug says if Frank stays, his running back rotations are gone regardless. Kiffin won't allow that. I don't think he will either. And Lane don't care what you think about his offense. If he wants Kawan Lacey, he's going to take Kawan Lacey. If he wants a running back, you're going to take a running back. And there's not anything you can do about it. I mean, and he likes Kevin Smith. Again, someone's going to have to dictate to me what, like, you think you know a guy that's been very successful offensively. Like, again, like, that's the part that I'm at. PV House became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate it. Shaquan with a $20 super chat says, rewatch the Clemson postgame reaction, man. We all thought this was our year. Pretenders instead of contenders, mainly offensively. I rewatched the game and wondered how we went from that to this. But hey, Lane Train, here it is. Yeah, that's a wild way to put it. It's a very, very, very wild way to put it, but it's true. It is true. James Upchurch, who has been a member for a month, says, best LSU show out there. Love what you do, Blake. Thank you for being here, James. And James has been a member for a month. So I'm glad that you're here with us, buddy. Thank you for those kind words. Mr. E with a $5 super chat says, when will LSU start developing high school players instead of burying them on the depth chart with portal guys? That's the exact reason we missed on Debo Atkins. Yeah, Debo's a dog too. This is what I feel. Okay. I feel that players on offense only played because they got paid this past year. I've had arguments with people on this, some that are connected to LSU, some that are not. Guys, you had no idea how to pick up a stunt, and you're blaming Weston Davis. I've played that position. We will go on the whiteboard. We will break this film down. You're not going to win that argument. You're just not. You did not know how to pick up stunts on either side. And people blame Brad Davis. Well, the year before they were able to pick up stunts, and they picked it up right. Offensively, you missed really bad. And I think a lot of those guys played because they got paid. Like, guys, we were playing Bauer Sharp over Trey Ed's Green. I mean, come on. Hopefully Lane starts doing that. Penn Jones says Duke's quarterback hitting the portal. Levitt is in the portal. Is Mensa officially in the portal? Is he officially in the portal? I would definitely go after him. Mensa's going to be a ball player, man. I definitely go after him if that's the case. I don't know if he's officially in the portal or announced that he is, but Mensa can play, man. And there's one position I ain't worried about. Guys, you could go from no scholarship quarterbacks. I trust Lane Kiffin and what he's going to do at quarterback. That's for damn sure. All right. See you tomorrow, man. Y'all have a blessed night. Peace.